This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome to the Hockeytown West Podcast, your source for everything Toledo Walleye and Grand Rapids Griffins hockey. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon. Just kidding, this is Nick today. And I'm here with Travis to go over the Toledo Walleye episode. It's kind of weird without Brandon today, isn't it?
A little bit.
Oh,
you told me like middle of the day, like it was gonna be just the two of us.
Wait, Travis, you're too loud. You're loud. You're a lot louder this episode. No, that's good.
I see.
So we figured out Travis has been rocking no mic, just on the computer. So we got him hooked up with a good mic, and now it's working. So it shouldn't have any audio issues moving forward with Travis.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I thought I was talking into the mic the whole time, and here I'm talking into the computer.
Hey, it was a good computer mic, I guess. But yeah,
Better
we're here
for as much as I spent on this thing.
But yeah, we are here without Brandon tonight. I think he said he was learning to skate, or he's with a bunch of cops. We might have to bail him out later. I don't know what he's doing. So if we have to exit the pod pretty quick, you'll know why if you're watching on YouTube. So, but we're gonna review today the last three Walleye games in this conference finals. They also did something pretty crazy over that time. They with the win streak. So we're going to review that and go kind of preview into the next few games that Toledo has as well. So, and some small notes around the league as well. So, but how are you doing today, Travis?
I'm good. Other than, I'm sick of mowing to a point.
I actually drove by one of those like heavy machinery things, and I was like, "That's what Trav does." Because you're mowing on the side of the highways and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, we're mowing on the side of county roads, and then I mow my grandpa's yard and also my yard, which I have to do mine tomorrow, but we'll get there.
And then when you're done, you can come over to mine and do mine.
Yeah, so I'll make the 3-hour trek.
I appreciate it. Gas money is not involved in this. So let's start with this crazy win streak that Toledo is on, right? Or was on. So they hit is this the record? 22 games?
So play like regular season into playoffs, it was a record, but the overall record, I think they were one game short. They needed, which I don't think the league would have even like counted because that was regular season only. I think it was 23 in a row.
That's insane.
Yeah, but I think honestly this is a tougher 22 because of how many times they had to play the same teams over and over with 8 games in the playoffs. So I think that makes it all the more like crazy and just like unbelievable. But 22 game win streak. I got some notes on it here.
Yeah, take us through it.
So they won 17 games in regulation, 4 in overtime, and 1 in a shootout. They won 8 games at home and 14 on the road. 12 wins for Jan Bednar and 10 for John Letherman. 4.0 goals for a game and 1.9 goals against the game.
Dang.
5 games they trailed after the first period. 3 games they trailed after the second period. So showed they could come back and win games. 8 of them they trailed at some point. 17 of 22 they allowed 2 goals or less. So pretty impressive run defensively.
There's that Toledo goaltending that we talked about all last year and now again this year. Like that's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just to round this out, 8 times they scored 5 goals or more, which is crazy, right? Score that many goals in so many games. The fewest amount of shots they had in a game and won was 12. They won a game with 12 shots. That was the lowest, and the highest was 53 shots, which was a playoff game.
53? Holy crap.
It was in this playoffs, obviously, but I forget what series it was in. So,
but to win a game with 12 shots on net, do you have any more stats on that? Was it a 2-1 game? Was it
I don't.
I'm just like 12 shots. That's
It,
looking like last year's Griffins team, but we weren't winning with 12 shots. We were just getting there.
it'd be
For the
really
whole
bad if it was one of the games they put 5 up on too. It'd be a real rough night for the goaltenders.
be a good shooting percentage, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Just a crazy run, though. I mean, I think we all kind of knew it was probably going to end at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it had to at some point. There was no way they were going to be able to. It's so hard at one in the playoffs to beat the same team four times in a row. Like, it's so hard to close out teams. So for them to do that to 2 teams, and then like there's just no way that it was going to do it again in the Western Conference or in the conference finals. Like that's unheard of.
Right. And I think it was in February, their last loss, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was in February.
Jeez. Who do you have any stats on that game?
I don't.
That's okay.
It may have been. It was either February or March, but I know it was. I think it was the South Carolina game. I think I'm not 100% certain, and that was a game that they gave up a goal with like 5 seconds left in the game, like in regulation, and lost. And they like, if I recall, I think was their last loss until obviously this first game in the Kalamazoo, Kansas City series.
What do you contribute to that? I mean, you saw, like, you'd read through some of these stats. Like, they had games where they had 53 shots on net. They had shots of 12. They had 2 different goaltenders playing. They had an average of 4 goals a game and 2 pretty much against. I mean, what do you – and you had some that you came back from, and you had some that you led the whole game. And so, like, what do you contribute that success to?
I think just really improved defensive play, really. I mean, it was kind of like in the middle of the year, they were very run and gun, and the defense was up in the play. They're giving up on-man rushes. They're giving up goals against, just because you got forwards playing defense and defense playing forward at times, and just caught up with them. But the improved defensive play as a whole, and them just having the ability to continue their offense, it was the biggest thing. Really, that trip down to their trip when they went south was probably the biggest turnaround, like the biggest, not real turnaround, but more just like finding that consistency, especially after that South Carolina game. They became a really good team. Not that they weren't already, but a lot more confident, I would say.
It's crazy to me that last year they did what, 18? It was 18 in a row?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's hard because this year, they did it again, but I believe it was 18 last year.
And then you followed up with this year at 22. Like, there's not a whole lot of players that carried over from the team either. Like, Lethaman carried over, Hawkins carried over, Sawchuk, and just a few others. But, like, I mean, this is almost a whole different team, it's a different head coach. Like, it's just crazy to see everything continue on, and that's what's great about the organization as well.
And it's a big testament to their culture.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. And, even Hawkins said when we interviewed him, like him and Keenan have like kind of just become like the new like voices in the locker room that they learned from, like Albert and Hensick and all these great veterans that have been around before them and taught them their experiences, and now they get to pass it on to the new guys that are there.
It kind of reminds me of the Red Wings back in the 90s. Is like those guys, like when Yzerman was there as a player, like came in and like they worked on their days off. They were lifting weights. They like nobody told them to come in and do this stuff. Like they were already there doing it. And like they created that culture. They won the cups. And it was just like kind of set in stone. And then that handed down to like Datsuk and Zetterberg when they came in. And then that got handed down to Larkin and like to those guys. And now you're kind of seeing like the culture has kind of dissipated a little bit because there's not a whole lot of carryover, but you still see like there's still a high standard with the Wings. And like it's good to see this with Toledo. And you like, would you say that this probably started last year or the year prior?
This started like when Derek Lalonde took over, the turnaround and the culture shock. And they had some really good players that had played for Toledo for a long time. I mean, AJ Jenks, Shane Birchback, guys like even Tansy when he was here. In goal, you had Lurg, and then you had Nagel. So some veteran guys that, they just approach the game the right way and continue to also to improve every day. And, your younger players see that, and this is what happens. You build a good organization.
I think me and Brandon preach just the most is it is really like we always joke about it's always about balance, but it really is like the culture it's a huge part of anything that we do outside of the podcast. And like even with these teams, like we saw here in Grand Rapids, the culture was terrible last year and it's gotten better. It's a lot better than what it was last year. And so to see that culture starting at Toledo and then translate over to Grand Rapids, and you'll see it finally translate probably up to the Red Wings as well. And it's just good. So, do you have anything else on the 22 game crazy win streak that we just were part of history and be able to witness?
Not really. Just a credit to the Blade for putting that piece together to where, I got my all the stats were from the Blade. It was, I think, on the front page of the sports section. So, credit to them for taking the time to put that together to help us out.
Yeah, I knew you wanted to talk about it last week, and I was like, no, let's not talk about it yet because it's still going on, and I didn't want to like jinx it or put that out there. And we go to game one. That's Kansas City. It's in Toledo. They play the first 3 games here in Toledo, and then the next 4 in Kansas City, which is odd. It's an odd format, and I mean, we had our predictions of the series and which ones they would win and which ones they'd lose, and they came out game 1, and it was a close game. Kansas City won 3-2. But Toledo started it off. Hawkins got, the man of the team right here. Hawkins gets his 6th in the first. Kansas City then answers back with 2 straight goals in the first. And Toledo ties it back up in the second from Riley Sawchuk. Another man of the team. Like, just one of the other players that's stepping up in this time. And then Kansas City gets the 3rd goal and 13 minutes into the game to end up winning this. Your goalies for this game was John Letherman started, had 22 shots, 19 saves, 3 goals against. And Morris for Kansas City started for them. And it was 26 shots with 24 saves and 2 goals against. Toledo didn't have any power play opportunities in this game, which was a little odd. And Kansas City had 1, and they didn't convert. So, and it was Sam Craggs in the second period, just a minor for tripping, which is a little odd. But what?
It was a good call. It was a good call.
Was it? Okay.
I thought so. The officiating, right? You get on the fan pages and it was just blast the refs. I mean, all 3 games it was blast the refs, blast the refs, blast the refs.
Normal, right?
Yeah,
overall in hockey culture.
Right. There was definitely some very, they let them play. There were some missed calls, a lot of missed calls. You're letting them play. And probably the most are you serious? Was their 3rd goal. But I can understand why they waved off the icing. And they also waved off another very questionable icing call in the 3rd period. So to kind of dissect that a little bit, their 3rd goal, which was the game-winning goal, Kansas City's, they iced the puck, and McCourt's about at the top of the circles in our zone, falls. Everybody thought he was tripped. Looked to me like he just fell, like he lost an edge, and kind of slid towards the red line. Well, the other guy's skating, so he's gonna win that race to the puck. By the time they got to the hash marks, McCourt's already on the ice sliding. He's not gonna win that race because the other guy's skating. Goes around the net, picks the puck up, throws it out front, finds a guy who cuts into the slot and buries it. And that was the game-winning goal. A lot of controversy. A lot of people thought it should have been a penalty, should have been icing. I can see the arguments, but I mean, if you watch it back and notice when he trips and slides, you can see okay, he wouldn't have won a foot race to the puck because he was out of the play essentially. Yeah. So that was tough. And then they called one where Craggs was blatantly going to win the race, and they called it icing, and it was just oh boy. But they let him play. I thought maybe there should have been 1 penalty really. on Kansas City. It was like either a high stick or an elbow, caught a guy up high, but they let him play, and only that one tripping call. But that's just kind of the story. Hawkins opened the scoring in this game, and that was an absolute rocket. I mean, he just got the puck come down the right side and just buried it. Top corner, far side of the net, slap shot from, I don't know, top of the circles. One that the goaltender's probably like thinking, man, I got to stop that, or how did that go in? And
I think that's what most goalies say when Hawkins scores. Like,
right.
it's just like,
how did that go in?
That's how I usually am when I see his highlights.
Yeah. And, you know, Sawchuk got his 8th of the postseason. His office, the slot has become that guy's office. He's almost automatic.
It's like the OB spot for him.
Yeah, but it's in the middle of the ice. Like, how is he always so wide open in the slot? and B, like, the way he's getting the shots off so quick, I'm thinking he maybe picked something up from Hawkins himself. They are stallmates, because if you notice, it's quick releases.
Hey, that's what gets the goals. So I mean, that it can't go wrong there. This game, looking at the shots, I mean, it was very close. Kansas City had 8 in the first. Toledo had 6. You go to the second, Toledo had 12. Kansas City had 7. And then you go to the third, and Toledo was 8, and Kansas City had 7. So I mean, it seems very close on the stat sheet. Like, how do you think, was it that close in play? Like, I wasn't able to watch this game. I'm not able to watch every Toledo game, and some of our listeners are, some aren't. But if you're tuning in, like, how was this an actual close game, or was it? Do you think one team controlled more of the play than the other?
I think it was very 50-50, right? You can see why these two teams were as good as they were, because Toledo would have zone time for an extended period of time, and Kansas City would have zone time for an extended period of time. So, and there was a feeling out process early. I mean,
Yeah,
you could tell they hadn't played each other. But honestly, like, we had a lot of zone time, but the high danger chances weren't really there. Like, in the slot, the one we did went in. That was Riley Sawchuk's goal. Just a lot of just back and forth. Really good hockey, I thought. I mean, the biggest thing, and I'm gonna say this again when we review game 2, goals in the last minute. They give up a goal with like 15 seconds left in the first period. They're tied at that point. So it's like, that's a deflator, right?
yeah.
You never want to give up goals late in the period. You know, if you look at it that way, that's your game-winning goal. Yeah, that's your difference. There's 15 seconds left in the period. You just got to get out of the period. You give up a goal, you know, and it's tough, but, you know, those kind of things happen.
Has this been a trend for the team? Is this something that's like noticeable, that they give up something in the first 15 or minute in the game, or like in the last minute of the period?
Not really. I think, you know, it was just like a cross ice play. The guy caught the puck like right at the hash marks and shot it over Lethemann's blocker shoulder as he was coming right to left. So, I mean, it was kind of just a minor breakdown 2-on-1 late in the period, though. But it's tough, but you got to move on. And they did get the game tied, so they fought back, just came up a goal short.
Did anything surprise you out of this team? Because like you said we had never played this team before, and we didn't play anybody in that division. So was there anything that came out that was like, oh wow, this team is a lot different than what I thought, or it was as expected? I know you said that this series is going to be like the all-time great series, is what everybody's been saying, and like built it up. And I'm like, okay, and I see a game of 3-2, and it seems very close, and they let them play. So like, did anything really surprise you, like physicality or the defense was much better than what you thought, or forwards, anything like that?
No, I mean, the biggest thing that they do really well is keep it to the outside. They don't give up a lot in the slot. And I will say they play to a structure, and Kelsey even said, it's like, oh my God, it's like there's 5 of them to every one of our players. Like, how is this even possible? And it's just like, they know their system. They know when to attack the puck, when not to attack the puck, where to be, where not to be. You know, it's just good coaching. But as a whole, there wasn't a lot of surprises, right? You knew they were going to be a good team. So it's just a matter of kind of feeling each other out and just enjoying the games.
Well, that takes us into game 2. So much different game. Going through the stats, they played Saturday night in Toledo, and Kansas City comes away and wins 5-1 in this game. And the Griffins were going on at the same time as this game, so I wasn't able to pay attention to this one. But looking at that score sheet, I'm like 5-1. Oh my gosh! Like we just got steamrolled, and Toledo starts the scoring with Cruz scoring, a Centazzo assist. And then it was just straight Kansas City throughout the rest of the game. In the second, they got 2. In the third, they got 3. And I mean, like you said in the recap in the last game, like there's 6 seconds left and they get 1 in the period. So I mean, that's another weird trend there. Shots for the team, it was Kansas City had 26, Toledo had 40. Like that's surprising. You would think, 5 goals, you're probably thinking they had 40 shots on net. So in this game, you had Bednar was in net, 24 saves, 24 shots, 21 saves with 3 goals against. Our backup goalie, the empty net, gave up 2 on 2 shots. He's not very good goalie. I've seen this guy in Grand Rapids a lot last year. And then they switched goalies for this game too, and they put LaFontaine in there, and he had 40 saves, 40 shots, 39 saves with 1 goal against. I'm assuming this guy just stood on his head and made some crazy plays. And then the power play opportunities, Kansas City had 4 and Toledo had 2, but it didn't play a difference. Nobody scored on special teams. So very, very odd game. Like the stats, the math doesn't math to me. You know what I mean? Like looking at this, you see 40 shots, you see 2 power plays. Like you would assume Toledo would have won this game. What happened?
So the score doesn't reflect how close the game was. Obviously, two empty net goals.
That's what I said too with the Griffins the other night. So I'm like rewatching this game from Monday. I'm like, this game was a lot closer. So yeah, take us through it.
It was a lot of the same from game 1, right? Toledo gets the lead. They can't build on it. Beautiful play. I mean, it probably should have been a penalty called on this play, but there wasn't. And then it was a 2-on-0 in front of the net from like the hash marks in. And it was just Cruz to Centazzo, who gave it back to me, a wide open net. And is a beautiful goal. Kansas City, Toledo was shutting them down, right? Kansas City didn't get a goal till halfway through the game.
Yeah.
10-15 mark of the second period. And there were 2 guys in front of Bednar, and it was a puck that had eyes and got through, and you could tell it hit the back bar that goes up and down in the net, because it was like a very hollow, like just thud. And it was like, well, that hit the back bar, but not the up top back bar. And I mean, it's just a seeing eye shot. It got through some bodies and in. And then the play that everybody's talking about right now, the play that I think cost Toledo this game dearly. 6 seconds left in the second period. Puck's going behind the net. Bednar has it. To make a play and literally puts it on the dude's tape in front of the net. He gets in front, makes the first save. There's a dude standing there to tap it in with 6 seconds left. And it was just like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, there's 6 seconds left in the period. Just play the goal.
Right. And keep the puck.
Get the right off. And then they scored their third goal. I mean, if it was us talking about a goal that Hawkins scored, it's an unbelievable shot. But because it was scored on us, I've seen some stuff where it was like, well, he's got to save that. And it's like, okay, can we give some credit to the shooter? Like, he picked a corner. Like, sometimes the shooters are just better. You know what I mean? Like, if it was us, like, saying, oh my God, Hawkins, absolute, just nowhere to put it, and he put it, it's like, I kind of cut him some slack there. But the second goal, really bad turnover. And then he almost did it again in the third period. So Puck was like flying through the air, right? And he comes flying out of the net and doesn't try to catch it. He like drops into the butterfly, and there's a rebound. And this is like at the hash marks.
Oh.
And I'm just like, Jan, this is like beginning of the year stuff. Like,
oh no.
Like, what are we doing here? And honestly, outside of those 2 plays, he played fine.
Okay.
It just was when you have those two types of glaring mistakes, it gets magnified,
Yeah.
especially this time of the year.
We're in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, everything's magnified. I mean, it's one goal could make the game, right? We saw that in the last game, in game 1.
Yeah. And, like you said, Toledo had 40 shots, right? But a lot of it was like from the outside, nothing in tight, nothing in the slot, which goes back to me saying, they play a very good defensive structure. They got to start getting bodies to the net. Like, just go to the net. You got to kind of create your own bounces and just shooting I even said to Kelso a bunch of shots. I'm like, man, this goalie's just picking cherries. Like, just like, oh, yeah.
So they just weren't high quality.
Not
They
really.
shut down Riley's office.
Yeah, they shut down Riley's office. Yes.
Out of order. Dang. So, okay. So, it was a lot closer than what the score really showed.
Yeah. You take away the goal with 6 seconds left, it's a 2-1 game.
Right. And then the 2 empty nets. Was Pat just being aggressive and pulled Jan early to try to gain some momentum, to try to get a goal?
Well, we needed 2, and I was like, okay, you got to pull him. We had an offensive zone face-off, and we just kind of lost it, and wide open dude just shot it down into the net. Backup goalie wasn't really helping us there.
And then you had Patrick Curry that ended up, then you had Patrick Curry get the last one. So that was just kind of salt in the wound, I feel, at that point.
Yeah,
being a former Walleye.
Yeah, and they've kept him pretty quiet in the first 2 games up to that point. I think he had 1 assist maybe, but kind of containing him. But really, they could have won both games just as easy as they lost them. And that's kind of what I expected with this series, right? This score, like I said, doesn't really reflect how close the game was. But you're almost at a pick 'em, it's just like.
Do you think with the loss on the first game kind of like shook them a little bit? Because did they come out flat, or did they come out like, hey, we're gonna we figured out this team in game 1, we know where their weaknesses are, we know how we match up, now we're gonna take it to them and really show them hey, we're not sitting back and waiting for it to come, we're gonna go after them. But was that kind of the situation with game 2, or was it more like, I don't know, just mailing it in? I don't know.
No, it definitely wasn't mailing it in.
That's probably a bad way to say it. I'm just trying to find a different word for it, but
you could say they got goalied, right?
Yeah.
40 shots is 40 shots. Doesn't matter where it's from. You still got to make the save. even if they are easy ones, but I thought they played. I thought they played aggressively. They didn't just lay there. It's not like they got. It looks like they got steamrolled, but they didn't get steamrolled. It was a tight game, and that goal late really changed it, because in the second period, that late goal changed it. I say because after they added the third goal in the third period, you then have to start thinking about, okay, when am I going to start pulling a goaltender? I need to get 2.
Right.
Well, if it's a 1-goal game, you don't have to pull him at almost 4 minutes left. I think it was 3 and some change when they pulled him, and I was just like, well, you got to go for broke. What's the difference if you lose 4-1 or, in this case, 5-1 or 2-1? You know what I mean? What's the difference?
I'm always an advocate for taking the goalies out in the third period. Just play 6-on-6 is what I'd love to see. I just love the chaos of it. And if you could get both coaches to agree, I think we could have some fun hockey there,
Yeah, and one thing I noticed also in this game, it was kind of like they didn't know who to play with Hawkins and Bliss. There's a lot of juggling going on. At one point, Santazo was out there. At one point, Doucette was out there. Sawchuk was out there. Cruz was out there. It's just the
blender was going.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to generate some offense, or are they really second guessing themselves here?
And that's not normal for them to run the blender?
Not normally, especially with that first unit. Obviously they're still short. They don't have Lewandowski back, who had been playing on the first line, but just a lot in the blender.
And you sit in a good spot, and we've talked before off air that you really notice line changes, and that's what you look for when you're watching at the game is line changes, who's coming on, who's coming off. Like, you're really good at that. So it wasn't something that like somebody was just stuck in a line change. It was more of like that player's out there.
Yeah, I mean, there may have been a couple instances that I just didn't notice the change because of where the puck was at, but it seemed like there was a lot of like just trying to figure something out to get a spark. But
maybe they need to do what Dan did and go 11-7.
Just dress it. Well, yeah, you can't really do that down here because of the lineups, but
so, yeah, we're playing more with the veteran rules up here.
Yeah,
with some of the players.
Yeah, so it's like you can dress 3 full lines, 2 extra forwards, and 6 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders. So yeah, that's kind of what they're doing.
Any final thoughts on game 2?
Not really. Just looking at my notes here. No. The only thing that I could really point out is I think they need to really consider putting Matt Anderson on the power play, but that's just me. I think he's our best guy at getting pucks through. Like our defense, like they block a lot of shots on this Kansas City team. And it seems like when we're on the power play, block shot, block lanes, and it's like, okay, can we try something different? Like,
yeah,
I know McCourt's ran the first unit all year, but like maybe just go with a different look, or even if it's the second unit, but it is what it is.
I may this weekend may look into Toledo's playoff or power play stats a little bit more, and maybe you could clip some of that because I'd like to see if it's any different than what we have up here with our system that we have, or what we put out there. I don't even want to call it a system. So going into game 3, right? We're down 2-0. At this point, I'm looking here and I'm like, this is not good. We've lost 2 in a row. We haven't lost a game since freaking February, and now we've lost 2. We're in the like conference finals, down 2-0. Like, this is not looking good because this game I pegged them to lose. Like, I thought they were going to lose this Monday night game. What I sent you the stat. They've only played 17 Monday games in the entire history of the Toledo hockey. Something like that. It was like 17 or 7. It was some crazy low number. And I thought they were going to tell us more of like how many wins or losses that they had in that time, but they didn't go that deep with it. So they come out. I mean, it looks they won 4-3. So another close one. Riley Sawchuk starts off the scoring 18 minutes into the first period. So right at the end of the period, Hawkins gets the assist. Gabriel gets the assist on the power play. So we've got one. We finally got one. That didn't take them as long as the Griffins did.
And that was a short power play.
Yeah, I see what
so it happened fast.
I'm trying to see here. What minute? No,
it was like I think we all like it was 4-on-4 and it was coming out of 4-on-4. I think, could be wrong, but it was like it wasn't a full 2-minute power play. It was like a brief power play, I guess you would call it.
Yeah. It looks like it was only about a minute out there. Kansas City strikes right back real early in the second at 4 minutes and 50 seconds in, and then Toledo gets one back with I'm going to need help with this pronunciation.
Propavesis,
Cruz and
McCallion
out with the assist. Thank you. I was like, do we ever figure out how to pronounce this guy's name?
I think it's McCallion.
We're going to go with that. It's better than what I would have probably said. Kansas City strikes right back. So it's now a 2-2 game. And then Toledo gets another one from Mr. Sawchuk. So 2-goal game from him, his 10th of the playoffs. Santazo and Wilms gets the assist on this one. And then they finally take the lead with Keenan gets the goal, his second of the series, Gabriel and Prepavesis. And then Kansas City gets one with 1:30 left in the game from Walker. Shots on net.
1:30 into this third period.
Oh, sorry. 1:30 into the period. But they hold them off for the rest of the period. So that's super important with only the 1-goal lead. Toledo, 10 shots in the first, 11 in the second, 9 in the third. Kansas City has 9 in the first, 8 in the second, 11 in the third, And then total shots was 30 for Toledo, 28 for Kansas City. So I outshot them again, ended up outscoring them again, which is the most important thing here. Toledo with 1 for 3 on the power play, 0 for 1 on the power play for Kansas City. So again, shutting down Kansas City. It doesn't look like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Kansas City's been able to score on the power play, which is good on Toledo. This guy got to start, John Letherman, 28 shots, 25 saves, 3 goals against. And then they went back with Morris in this game. So 30 shots, 26 saves, 4 goals against for Kansas City.
They've done that all playoff. They
rotate through.
Yeah, they've run the rotation just like Toledo has. So,
I mean, I get it with having 40 shots the night before, or like 2 nights before. But it's odd. I mean, he played well. He played hot. I would have probably stuck with the guy, but I also get not overworking the guy. So, Sawchuk was the first star. Then you got Keenan and then Propavesas. What were your big takeaways from this game? Do you feel like the momentum is now back on our side going to Kansas City?
No,
I stumped you.
No, I listened to 32 Thoughts and they just talked about momentum in a playoff series, and they both felt that momentum doesn't carry over game to game to game to game. So
Okay.
it was an interesting thing to listen to, but it's hard to say, man. I mean, it's just like, obviously to get a win, that's huge, right? It was like a must-win game without being a must-win game. Like it wasn't an elimination game, but you needed this game. And they finally could build on a lead. I think that was the biggest thing. And I even said that to a couple of people in the building. I was like, we got to get a lead and build on it. And early in the game, it didn't go that way. It's like, we get a goal, we give it back. We get the next one, we give it back. Then Sawchuk scored, and then Keenan gets a breakaway and buried it. And I was like, okay, finally, we built us a little bit of a lead here. And then they obviously, out of a net mouth scramble, side of the net just happened. It was a crazy goal that they scored to cut it to a 1-goal game. But you're definitely going to get some momentum. And what really gave Toledo a lot of momentum in this game was Wilms got in a fight.
Yeah, that was making the rounds on Twitter a couple times now. I saw it again today, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't know the guy. Like, is this give us some more story about this.
So I read somewhere it was his first fight since 2019, and you could kind of tell because it was kind of hold on for dear life for a few seconds. Then he did throw a few punches, but it was kind of like, oh boy, I better hang on.
So like this guy, is he a smaller guy for Toledo?
I mean, he's not huge by any means. He's one of the kids that came from college, which you can't fight in college, at least in America. I don't know. He came from Canadian college, so it's a little different. Could be. That like kind of, I don't want to say changed the whole game around, but it definitely gave him a spark, right? And
Gave him some energy.
Absolutely. But they faced some big time adversity in this game. Bliss left the game like 3 minutes in. Tangled up with a guy. He went down, and another guy from Kansas City's going, he didn't like throw a knee at the guy. He just, as Bliss was going down, got hit in the back of the head. Don't know if he's going to be back for the series. They don't disclose injury information. Centazzo got laid out.
You guys either?
Yeah,
either.
Right. Centazzo got laid out, and he barely made it to the bench. And then Hawkins kind of got roughed up at the end of the game. Looked like he took a slash to the hands. He came out for the post-game celebration, but again, he was right off the ice, and all the two were straight to the room. And we didn't see Centazzo or Bliss for the better part. Well, basically for Bliss the whole game, but Centazzo, when he went out, we didn't see him the rest of the way.
So I don't want to use the word momentum, but do you feel like the confidence is now swung back to Toledo now that they've been able to finally figure out this team? I guess my question here is, have they figured this team out?
I think they might have. They got a crack in the armor, right? They got the first, and that's going to go a long way, right? I think if they can get this next game, That's the big. This is the big game now. You go to game 4. And I was kind of sitting there thinking about it today. Like, it's like, okay, well, you lose 2 games, but you win the 3rd game. It's no different than if you're tied after 2 games and you lose the 3rd game. There's no difference. You're still down 2-1. So I think it's just, and they're going to have to create their own momentum now because they're in Kansas City for the final 4 games. But I think they're going to have some positives to take away from this series or from this game that's going to help them in this series as a whole. Now, if some guys can't go, there's going to be some guys come in that have not played in a month and a half. So it would be very interesting to see what that does, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just saw this with Grand Rapids last night. We put Wyatt Newpower in, who hasn't played in a month and a half or so. At least it seems. So, or Hunter Johannes, same thing. So, like, the chemistry was definitely off last night for us. So, that could be a problem for the next game. I mean, I'm looking at this one. I'm comparing the trends for the last 3. Toledo's outshot them every game. Just haven't outscored them. They haven't got a power play goal against us, which has been huge. And this was the first game we were able to get a power play goal on them. So those are some big things. So you see probably and sticking with the rotation, are you gonna assume that Jan Bender's in tomorrow night?
I wouldn't be shocked if they go back to Johnny. I think a lot of the fan base wants to see him go back to Johnny. Johnny's played really well, and I think what's got people thinking this way is just the 2 mistakes that we had discussed earlier, or misplays. But, at the same point, looking at glass half full, Bednar's shown he can bounce back and play really good when he needs to. But I said I commented on a post, as somebody put out, like, who starts game 4? And I was like, I would go Johnny game 4 and then go back to Bednar game 5. And, like, I've compared it to Swayman Olmark for Boston, right? And it's like, how do you
juggle the 2?
Right. It's like, what do you do here? But
I used to having 2 good goalies.
or that are this good. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I will say one player that really impressed me in this game was Messina. He drew in this game. Grassock went out, Messina came in, and at one point they had Messina with Hawkins and Doucette. So, and they had Messina playing center in that line. So he kind of got thrown into the fire and then really got thrown into the fire with the injuries that happened in this game. But the D pair also of Propavesis and Gabriel, really solid in this game. They obviously huge contributions on the offensive side, but also being defensively responsible as well. Those are basically my points. Sawchuk's dominance, right? Like, this dude is beginning to score at will at this level, which
like Hawkins level.
Yeah, which for you guys is exciting, right? Thinking maybe next year for Grand Rapids, but
that'd be sick. We could use him.
He's definitely found that scoring touch. So we're gonna need some depth scoring here. If these 2 guys can't go and Lewandowski still can't go, you're gonna end up having Messina in. You're probably gonna have Pilon in, and you're gonna have Grassuck in. So it's going to be some depth scoring question marks now all of a sudden. When you have your high-end guys in the lineup, your secondary scoring can be found a little bit easier. But now your secondary scoring is also going to have to help carry the team as a whole if these guys don't play tomorrow night.
Did you see the blender running in this game, or was it pretty consistent with the lines?
Well, I mean, initially, yeah, because I lost a guy, and then the second guy went down, and it was like, all right, well, we literally have 3 lines of forwards at this point. Like, we only have 3 lines. So we basically, like, your 2 extra forwards were out, but they're our top players, 2 of our top players.
Jeez.
So, which, all the credit to the leadership, right? Goes back to that leadership. Gotten out this win.
Yeah.
And Pat even said after game 2 when he walked in the locker room, the guys were like, "We're not out of this. You know, we're not done." So
that's good to hear. That's why I'm
yeah,
wondering, like, how are they deflated? Are they excited? Are they the confidence is still there? Like they finally got a break in the armor. Like now it's hopefully they can rest up, they can come back, and they can finish it out. I mean, that's what they have to do
right.
in
And I
Kansas
think
City.
and I think they actually left yesterday, or it might have been Tuesday, to get a couple practice days out there and to get acclimated. You know, after what happened last year, which, you know, I don't really want to go into. I don't think anybody's going
Right.
to, but just to kind of go out there and kind of get into a routine, you know, I think that's going to help them, right? I am not hitting the panic button yet. I was close after game 2.
Yeah, you
I
were.
was close. I was close to hitting the panic button, and you know, I told I told the people that sit behind me, I was like, everybody breathe. And I was getting frustrated. And my one friend's daughter's like, breathe, it's fine, breathe. And normally I'm the one that's like, breathe.
I mean, it's a 7-game series, so you guys have time. You have games on your side, but I mean, would you say this next game is a must-win game?
I think so. I think they gotta get. You have to, I think, win tomorrow night, just because. Well, tonight, as you're listening to this, probably.
Yep.
I say that mainly just because you see it at 2-2. You got one to spare. Like you can drop that game somewhere. You go to 3-1 or 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1.
You got to run the table. They still do have to essentially run the table against the best team in the league. They're going to have to win 3 out of 4 out there, which is a tall order, very tall order.
Would you say that they're outplaying them though after 3 games, like to wrap up these 3 games and to go into the preview for the next one? Would you say, like, looking at the stats, it looks like they've been outplaying, they're out shooting, they're like, it favors Toledo, but a bad balance, a playoff goal here, you know what I mean? Like a greasy goal has kind of ruined their chances, it sounds like. Am I on that page? Or
Yeah,
am
I
I
think
on a
it's
different
just
book?
no. I think you're kind of close. I think it's just kind of tighten it up just a little bit more. And can you get that one save, right? You need that one extra save. I did see a tweet. It's like, well, Kansas City's getting the goaltending, Toledo's not. And it's like, yes and no. Like, without some of the saves they make, these are blowouts. And without some of the saves their guys are making, it's blowouts the other way. So it's like, it's that one. You just need one more save than the other team. And you just got to find that.
So goaltending has been pretty much the topic of this series.
Definitely, their goaltenders are good. I will say you're going to have to. They're going to have to score some grease goals. They're going to have to get in there, score some Zach Hyman goals.
Yeah,
2 feet in front of the net, right?
So what do
the
you
garbage?
Take the garbage out. So we've got game 4 tonight, or whatever. You know, this episode will come out tomorrow. We're recording on Thursday. What do you think the key is for the rest of the series? What do they got to do? What do you got to see? What needs to continue to happen for us to win 3 straight?
Yeah, right. Go ahead. I think the biggest thing tomorrow is just withstand the first 10 minutes, right? You know, there's going to be a push. They're in their home building. Withstand that first initial push. Get a lead and build on it. They have not been able to build on it. You know, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Get the lead and build on it. You know, you get one. Okay, that's good. Let's get another one. Let's keep building on this. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult. This team's very good. They play very good defensively, but there's not like a lot that I don't like about how they've played, and that's for both teams. They're both good teams. It's just they won 2 games and we lost 2 games. It's kind of all it is to it.
I felt like last year Idaho was just on that next tier than Toledo was, and they just crushed us. So that's how I'm like, and I was able to tune in a lot more of those because Griffins were in the playoffs last year during this time. So
after the first 2 games last year when we lost, I was kind of like,
we don't belong in here.
No, not necessarily that. It was just like, okay, they're really good. Like this team's good, and then like they come to Toledo, and I was like, wow, this team is really good. I think that Toledo matches up better with Kansas City this year than Toledo did with Idaho last year. It's just they just got to find a way to win, right? Just
dig deep.
Find a way. Yep,
Yeah.
dig deep.
You want to do a prediction
For tomorrow?
Yeah, let's just do one game. Well, I mean, we're not going to talk again about Toledo until next.
This series will be over.
The
next
series
time
will be over. Yeah. So, and I know you want to talk about Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7, but I'm like, we might not make it that far. I don't know. Like,
right.
I don't want to. So, do you want to change? I don't remember what you predicted.
I said 7.
You said 7. So you want to stick with 7?
I'm going 7. I think this is gonna go 7. I don't think there's any way around it.
I'm gonna stick with 7 as well. Or I'm gonna. Or people are gonna go back and listen and be like, "Nick, you did not say 7."
Nick was a sweep.
Well, I don't remember. Oh, was it? What did I say? Sweep?
Well, I mean, you were on the whole train of they're never gonna lose again.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go back on that train. They're not gonna lose again. They're gonna win the next 3, and then it's gonna be over.
And I've even said to some people, it's like, okay, look what's happened in the NHL this year. First round, Dallas lost first 2 games at home. They won the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, the setup's way different, but you still got to play the games. So
right.
this isn't impossible.
No, not at all.
There's definitely no reason to say this is impossible. And they got some good pros in that room. I wouldn't. This is far from over.
Yeah, I think we do. We continue to talk about Toledo next weekend and in a positive light. I think we are prepping for the next round, but we're going to focus on tonight's game first, and then go from there. Continue to build on what they're already doing. I mean, stats wise, it seems like they're doing all right. So, want to give a little bit of time for update on the league. So, you wrote in here Eastern Conference update. What is going on the other side of the bracket?
Well, Florida's still Florida, right? Everblades. And Cam Johnson's still Cam Johnson. I mean, they're up 2-1 in that series. They're coming off a 4-0 win at home. They went back to Estro, Florida last night and won. I believe it was last night. Adirondack. Don't know a ton about them because we didn't play either. Well, we didn't play either of them teams, but we didn't play Adirondack. But it's kind of looking like they're going to get back and they're going to go in for 3 in a row. So this is I want to be the team that knocks them out. Yeah, I want to be the team that beats them. So hopefully we can right this ship around and get into the finals. I would love to see them play Florida personally. I'm all for great hockey. Like, you got to beat a good team if you get there, and they're a good team, right? They're going for a 3-peat. So it's unbelievable how they're so much kind of like the Lightning were in that their back-to-back run to where they can just flip the switch, right? They like almost backdoored in this year. They were close to missing last year and won the cup. They're doing it again this year. So, definitely something to monitor as Toledo series continues to go. If they come back and pull this off, just something to monitor.
Who is their affiliate?
Panthers, I believe.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I know there's so many Florida teams now. And so then Panthers, I can't remember who they're not the Crunch. I can't remember who their AHL is.
Charlotte Checkers.
Oh yeah, Charlotte's knocked out on our side. So, but they're traditionally a good team. So, I mean, they probably gained a few of their guys as well to go on a little bit of a run, as I would assume. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't pay enough attention. My one buddy did text me last night, and he was like, "How is Cam Johnson in the ECHL still? Like, come on, get him out of this league. He's too good."
I'd have to check to see who Checkers' goalies are, because typically those guys are coming out and they're pretty good in the NHL. I know Ned played there, and I think Alex Lyon played there too.
Yeah, well, they had Spencer Knight this year.
Yes, and Spencer has been there this year too. So crazy. Is their format the same? Like 3 games at home and then 4? Okay, so they're
I think it's 2
traditional. Okay.
2-3-2. Yep.
So something to keep an eye on. Anything else you want to talk about in the league? I know we added a team, the Bison, official.
Yeah, then there's me who thought there was another team in the ECHL, but it was the league. But it's a cool name.
This is the super cool team out of Georgia, Athens, the Rock Lobsters. Brandon sent it to me earlier this week. I wasn't able to really dive into it. We got talking to a guy last night at the Griffins game about it, but came from Family Guy, and it was a fan voted team name, I guess.
Well, if that's any indication, the Yeti better be Utah. That's all I got to say.
I'm hoping that's there too. So, Oh, good.
No, not really. It'll be interesting. You brought up the Bison. They're going to be in the Central, I would presume. And it'll be interesting to see who shifts. Or if they leave it, I don't know, but I would assume somebody's going to shift somewhere, whether that be Wheeling, maybe to the North Division. It's hard to say.
It kind of makes the most sense, right? Geographically.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're a little further north than Wheeling, but Wheeling's
that way.
Not too far from Reading. I mean, like the Reading I think they're the Royals.
Yeah, the Royals. It's weird that I do that.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, is that right? I don't know. But they're more east. So Wheeling's east of us. So it'd be interesting to see if they realign, or if they just add another team to our division.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think they were talking about having an affiliate, and I can't remember who they decided on.
I don't know.
Man, I'm bad at this tonight. But any final thoughts? Anything you didn't get in? Anything you wanna?
I know what I'm doing Saturday for the game.
What are you doing?
There's a festival in Port Clinton. We're gonna go to the festival, get some food, and then come back and watch the game here. So
nice.
I'll be watching tomorrow from Columbus. I'm going to Banana Ball.
I'm jealous because the Banana Ball is super cool, and they've made so many highlights on their Instagram, and I'm like, oh, I can't be mad at you for going to that. We'll be at the Griffins tomorrow. We might tune in Saturday night to watch the Walleye if they can. Well, yeah, they'll win tomorrow. They'll win Friday, and then they play Saturday, right?
Yep.
So back to back. So we'll be tuning in, I'm sure, Saturday to watch, and maybe we'll sync up and watch the game together. But
yeah, maybe. I think really just the other thing is just like support them, right? They didn't want to be in this hole, but they're not going to do it alone. Like you don't want them to do it alone. Like, still show your support. This isn't over.
Yeah, it's far from over.
The fourth game, it's never over, right? Florida showed it last year in the playoffs against Boston. There's so many instances over the years of teams now coming back. It's never over. Like, just try to stay positive. I know it's going to be tough. It'll be interesting to see what the lineup looks like, and that's going to kind of dictate
injuries. And
I think tomorrow, if we have 3 new guys in and top players out, what does that look like? Does Toledo have to play a 2-1 game, or can this depth step in and win a 4-3, 4-2 game? You know what I mean? So, and who's going to start? I think that who's in net is the biggest question I have. I would personally go Johnny, like I said, come back with Bednar for game 5, kind of just give him a reset, but that's just me. So it'll be interesting.
It's a good question because I'm always asking who's on first. So, but who's on net? That's a better one for this segment.
Watching. I'll be watching Twitter for the transactions to post tomorrow to see if we have what transactions were posted, because then you'll know who's out and who's in.
Have they been doing it on pretty much on a routine schedule?
Yeah, I forget what time they normally post it. But it's between 4 and 6 o'clock. I know that. I always look around 5, and it's normally posted.
Wadi has been doing. I think they're playing games with the Admirals. I'd have to check and see if the Admirals are posting, but they've held until the last 5 minutes of game time of releasing the lineups, and it's one, driving everybody nuts, and two, I think it might just be psychological warfare. I don't know. So
hopefully they get back on track tomorrow because they got to win tomorrow night.
They got to win tomorrow. I'll be there. Brandon will be there. I'm excited. Rinaldi, Elaine,
everybody.
Tyler will be there. I don't know why I said Tyler last. I said Tyler last night too.
I know. I listened to that episode when I was mowing today. You're like, I like Tyler.
I do like Tyler. Tyler's a wealth of knowledge, and if we can get him going, it's always good. So, but we'll wrap up. You got nothing else? I got nothing else. Let's thank our sponsor. We got Everything Hockey. Make sure you go over to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST. Get $3 off your order. Pick yourself up a hoodie. I'm still rocking the hoodies right now, or a t-shirt since we're going into summer and it's getting hot. Like, subscribe, rate, review, share. Ask for a sticker if you see us this weekend. We still have a few more till we put in our next order. We are on all the socials now. Probably tomorrow. Me and Brandon talked about it. We might not post all the highlights, so we might divert you to somewhere else to get those tomorrow. Just we want to enjoy the game. We want to be fans. We want to enjoy this possibly last home game. Hopefully not, but it could happen. Thank you for Travis for coming on tonight. You're gonna have to send me some bail money because I know Brandon is now in jail. So
I'll have to make a phone call, see if I can get into the bail account.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Go Walleye, get this win. Let's get this series tied back up. Go Griffins, let's get this series tied back up. And we will talk to you all again tomorrow night after the game after the Griffins, and maybe we'll do a little short Walleye update as well. And we'll thanks for tuning in to Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at Hockeytown W Pod, and your host Nick at GR Hockey Guy, and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey, and Trav at Trav1481. Love you all. Change. It's gonna change soon. Yeah, we got a new name. We've got some rebranding coming on. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod, and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy, and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey. Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod, and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy, and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey.